Hello and welcome back to another Doctor Who action figure review. In today's review, we're going to be taking a look at the Coal Hill School set that came out way back in December of 2020. Now, it has taken a while for me to actually do a review on this figure, reason being university was more important, and I didn't really get the chance to review this myself. And the reason being, I wanted to give my 2 cents on the set itself, as I really loved Remembrance of the Daleks. I do love the Dalek design, and I do like Ace. Now, usually I would start off with the boring part and look at the packaging, but unfortunately the package itself has been thrown out way back in December anyway, so we're just going to start off by looking at Ace. So starting off with Vase, this figure is basically a re-release of a figure that came out way back in 2013. Originally it came with way more accessories than this one does, but unfortunately for cost reasons most likely, it was something that couldn't happen. But it originally did come with the bazooka, the baseball bat that she was known for carrying as well as a few cans of Nitro 9. Unfortunately, these accessories do not come with this apart from the rucksack and the bazooka, and it also did come with changeable arms, so you could take the jacket off and you could pull off the arms and replace them with the shirt arms. That looked really cool. I remember getting that figure back in the day, actually at the 50th anniversary. Fortunately, like I said, doesn't come with this here, but it still makes out to be a very good figure. The paint job itself on the face is far more superior here than it was on the original release. I remember a lot of people were very disappointed with the paint apps on the original because she would have her eyes looking in different directions. Mine suffered with that, unfortunately, and it is such an improvement here. It does actually look more like the prototype figure that we did get back in 2013. So it's a plus here that we've actually got something that is way more updated. Taking a further look at the head sculpt, the paint apps themselves are very nice and crisp. You can tell who it's supposed to be. It does look like Sophie Aldred, aka Ace, and everything seems to be all nice and tidy. She also has additional paint apps, such as the little earring. It's supposed to be Batman, but let's face it, on such a small detail, you would not be able to paint the Caped Crusader here. But at the same time, it's a nice little addition at least. Moving on to the hair, you've got the braided section here, which is a separate piece to the head, with the added addition to the little yellow scrunchie that she wore, whatever you want to call it. It's like a headband, which is on the end of her hair. Moving down to the torso piece, the jacket itself has been painted the exact same way as the original figure was. All the detailing on the badges are exactly the same, and I'm surprised with this, as I thought it would be a budgetary issue that they just paint certain splodges of paint on sections of her jacket, which is meant to represent it, but I'm surprised that they've gone ahead and done this. Like I said, it's exactly the same. All the badges are supposed to be where they are. All the paint apps on the jacket are very nice and crisp. They have added certain details like the text on some of the patches and badges, such as the Ace Roofing patch that you can see on the left of the jacket, and you've also got all the space patches painted exactly the same way as they were way back in 2013. And then moving to the back, you have the Ace insignia on the back of her iconic jacket, which has been sculpted on, but then painted on top to make it look like it's an actual patch. Unfortunately, mine is slightly off to the right, but that is a compromise I'll have to live with, and especially that I've got two figures of her already, it doesn't really bother me too much. Lifting up the jacket, you can see the t-shirt underneath that has this lovely instrumental jazzy type sort of t-shirt that Ace wore in the episode, and it looks again the exact same way that the original figure had it, and it's such a cool design, and I'm surprised that they've actually gone to add this detail in, but you know, it's another nice little surprise with this set. And then moving down to the legs, you have the skirt that's been also cast in PVC, as well as the black tights and the black glossy boots. Now, even though the figure itself is predominantly black, the different tones of black that have been used on this figure, it works rather well, so it's not just one contrast. And all the mattes and the gloss do help break this figure up, especially with the jacket that has been made in a less glossier black than the boots, to give it that sort of nylon material, which works really well, and it does add a better finish to this figure. Moving on to the accessories, we have the backpack, which is exactly the same sculpt as the original, even down to the same paint apps. You've also got the little hole on the top where the baseball bat used to go, as well as the covering underneath, where you could open it up and put the Nitro 9 in here. Sadly, you can't actually open this one up. They have glued it shut. So if you had those accessories spare, you can't put them in, unfortunately. I tried it out myself. It's glued shut. On the plus side, getting the rucksack onto the figure is very easy to do. The armbands themselves are a much more flexible, rubbery material than the previous release, and you can easily slide on the rucksack like so. And as I've said, it's such a nice piece. It does look exactly the same as the original, but it also does look like the rucksack that was used in the show. The other accessory that comes within this set is in fact the bazooka that she carries. Now this has been cast all in black with certain details depicted in different colours, such as the handle being painted in a vibrant silver with the wooden features on there being brown. And looking at the rocket itself, it's been cast in this green plastic with the yellow lining and the silver tip on the end. And if you want to recreate some scenes, you can remove the bazooka head and aim it at Daleks if you wish to do so. I mean, why not? It's a toy. So articulation for Ace is pretty standard. The head can do a full 360, but I do have the backpack on at the moment, so it's fairly difficult when moving the head. Also, one thing to point out, be very careful with the ponytail as the paint can rub off. I had to repaint my older one. Arms can do a full 360 as well as moving out to the side, considering they're on ball joints. Biceps can do a full 360 turn. The elbows can also do a 90-degree bend. The hands can also do a full 360. The waist can do a full 360. The thighs can also do a full 360. And she can also bend at the knee. Overall, this figure is a fantastic piece to own. Now, I will say here, this is a vast improvement, and I think it's a fantastic piece to own. Not that the original one was bad in any way, but the paint apps on the original did let it down, and I really am glad that they have re-released it now and updated the paint apps to make it look more like Sophie Aldred. Up next, we have the Imperial Dalek. That was a very rare figure back in the day to get a hold of. Both versions that were out on the market are very rare to get, and it's a very nice idea that they have re-released it here in this set for collectors who did miss out on those initial releases. Now, this one has had slight improvements and adjustments to make it a bit more like what it looked like in the show. However, there is a few minor issues with this figure, which I'll get into, but it doesn't bother me too much, as it is very nice to have another one of these on the shelves. A lot of fans initially, when this set came out, bought in bulk so they could up their Dalek army, and a lot of Ace figures, even now, are still seen on eBay as spares because they just wanted to have the Dalek, which I don't blame them for. So firstly, taking a look at the dome. The dome has been painted in this off-white sort of ivory colour that has been used on all of the other Imperial Daleks, which is accurate enough, and it does look amazing. I've always loved this colour scheme, and I think it really goes well here. You also have the disc dome lights that were used on these Imperial Daleks. As you can see, they were cast in a transparent plastic with the bronzish gold on top. It looks really good, and it doesn't seem to be any paint bleeds here. And then moving on to the eye stalk, it's the shorter version that they've used before on some of the previous 80s Daleks that they've released, which I don't know if I'm a fan of or not. It does look good, but I think it is a bit too short in my opinion. But the main difference here is in fact the iris itself. Now, the previous releases that we got of this figure, they always painted it in blue, and it always annoyed fans that they did this. I never knew why they did it. It was probably an error in the factory or whatever, but it happened, and they have updated it here. Unfortunately, it's actually black instead of silver, but I will admit this is better than nothing, and it's closer to getting a accurate colour. So who knows, if they release a History of the Daleks set based on this story, it would be quite nice to see if they paint it in silver. Moving down to the neck bin, the mesh has been painted in the same bronzish gold, and the rings have been painted in that lovely ivory colour as well. And there doesn't seem to be any paint bleeds, it's all nice and crisp. Now, moving down to the midsection, this is the part that got on everyone's nerves for some reason. Now, here you can see there is actually mesh on the slat section of this Dalek, where the actual props in the show didn't have any, and the original versions of this toy didn't either. Now, they reused the slats section on a Renegade Dalek figure that came out many years ago in a Toys R Us exclusive, I believe, and they didn't have the money to remake these slats, so we've had to put up with it here. Now, it doesn't really bother me too much considering the toy itself isn't accurate to what was seen on screen, as the skirt section was a lot higher. Now, that's something I'll get into in a bit, but it doesn't really bother me here too much, and it is better than nothing. As you can see, the slats themselves have been painted in that lovely gold colour, and the mesh itself has been painted in the ivory colour. No bleeds seem to be on this, and it looks really, really good. And taking a closer look at the midsection, you also have the hexagonal shape that is between the weapons, and also the gun has been painted in that lovely bronze colour, as well as the plunger, which seems to be, with a lot of fans, a brand new sculpt. Now, I don't know, because it does look quite similar to the one that was released in that big 4-pack set from Remembrance, and it looks the same here. You have the nice lovely cuts from the plunger itself on the end, which I always thought was really cool, and it also has been painted in this lovely bronze colour. Doesn't seem to be any scratches or anything on it. It looks really nice. My only problem with this, which happens to be on most of the other Daleks that I've seen released in this set, the plunger arm itself is quite bent. It's a really easy fix. You can just get a hairdryer or something and then bend it back into shape. I tried this myself after taking all the photos, which I should have done beforehand, but there you go. And then taking a look at the skirt section, the skirt base has been painted in this lovely ivory colour, and the same bronze that has been applied to the hemispheres. As I've said before, this toy isn't accurate to what we see on screen, as the skirts themselves were a lot steeper, and the props themselves were very different to what was seen beforehand in previous stories. I think the Revelation Daleks were quite similar to these props in regards to the steepness of the skirt section, but here they haven't applied this. Again, it's cost reasons. It would be very expensive to do this to one of the Dalek figures, and then it would just mean that all the later releases could be very inaccurate to different stories. So this is like a minor thing. It doesn't really bother me too much, because again, it is better than nothing, and with these sets, you've got to take into consideration that it does cost a lot of money to manufacture these toys. Like I said, doesn't seem to be any paint bleeds here. It's all very nice and crisp, as well as on everything else on this Dalek. It just looks fantastic. So for articulation wise, it is pretty much like every other type of Dalek. The eye can pivot up and down. Dome can do a full 360. The gun and the plunger can move around freely on the ball joints, and there is also 3 wheels on the bottom, with the front wheel being able to maneuver the Dalek any position possible, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So overall, I've got to say, this set is amazing. You've got 2 figures here that are very sought after by fans who did miss out years ago, and they can turn up very expensive, but this is your chance to own them now. I think the Imperial Dalek looks fantastic. I've always loved the design there. It's my favourite Dalek design of all time, and I just think it looks perfect here. Even with some of the updates and some of the flaws here, it's still a nice figure, and I just think this is something for fans who did miss out on that initial release. Same goes with Vase. I think the updates on this figure are absolutely superb, and again, if you did miss out on that original release, this is your chance to own it now. Now, even though they are still at B&M, they are slowly being faded out for all the new upcoming releases that are supposed to be out either this month or the month after, but hopefully we'll get some more information on that soon. Hopefully we'll get some more information soon on them about release dates and etc. But for now, that's it. See you soon.